the Marketing Funnel Strategy Show. More leads, more sales, more predictability.
Introducing Jared Hyman, sales and marketing expert. Introducing Serena Carley, marketing and outsourcing expert.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Marketing Funnel and Strategy Show live interview today. I'm super excited for today's episode as well, and I know Serena is as well. Welcome, Serena, as always. How excited are we?
Pretty excited, actually. I mean, this is one thing that hits a little bit home with some of us people that sit long hours at a desk, you know, working in an office or something like that. So looking forward to some of the goodies that Shawn's going to give us.
Yes, 100%. Welcome to the show, Shawn, and we're excited to have you on. How's things in the wonderful UK today?
Well, we're about to have a heat wave. It's going to be, it's sort of overcast today, but we've got a few days of 28 to 30. So I don't know how the English are going to cope. They don't like it when it's over about 24 or 5 degrees.
Oh, there you go. It's getting time. I'm freezing myself here in Tassie. Awesome. So for those of you that don't know Shawn, Shawn is by far what I would say an expert in the realm of helping people to be able to go from, you know, back pain, neck pain, a lot of discomfort in their body to going completely pain-free. He's been doing this for 15 years, and I've had some amazing conversations with this guy and super excited to dive deeper into this as well today. So appreciate your time as well, Shawn. But if for those people that don't know who you are or never heard of you before, I'm surprised if they haven't because you've been on Sky as well. But could you just give people a little bit of an overview of who you are and what you do and how you serve people?
Yeah, I think, you know, it sort of started for me. I had growing pains. I grew very quickly. I'm 6'1" now, and I sort of reached that height when I was 14. So I didn't really have an option but to move. And I think this is a common theme we see with people that if people feel comfortable enough in their bodies and they're sitting at computers, then they don't feel the need to move until, oh, I'm a bit stiff, and then it's a little bit too late. So I'm sort of one of those people that always had to move and loved sport. So that always worked well for me. And then I was always looking for solutions for my own body, and it was a difficult thing to get. It's sort of I was disappointed. My swimming career sort of ended when I was 19. I sort of almost got to a national final, and then I got a shoulder injury. So I spent years trying to work that out, and then back injuries, Achilles injuries from growing too quick. That still affects me, but I was always determined to keep active. I've always loved sport, you know, typical Aussie, love AFL football and doing triathlons and swimming and anything like that. So I suppose it's slightly easier for me, but I always had those signs. As soon as I haven't been able to sit still for very long, I have to get up and move. So that's where I suppose I've been helping people that, firstly, like myself, that have had those problems, but a lot of people that, you know, we do live in a sort of excited world now. I think, you know, we've got a lot more exciting careers, and a lot of it is sitting down for longer, different hours. So how can we find solutions to that? And that's the question I've been asking for a long time.
Well, I thought that's the question we're going to ask you, Shawn.
Yeah, well, I think it's about finding the in between. You know, yes, we must go to the gym, and yes, we must play sport, and yes, we must move more, but it's not an absolute necessity like it used to be. You know, we have a lot more things done for us in the digital world. So it's finding ways like being able to do things at your desk, get up and move and find the motivation for that, I suppose, in a way is always a tough thing than just to move, thinking about what the outcome's going to be.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think, like, I guess, are some of the probably biggest mistakes people are starting to make these days, right? Because, I mean, I was a cyclist for many years and I was hunched over a bike for many years, right? And sometimes for like, 5, 6, 7 hours in one day. And, you would quite often, as you were riding your bike, you'd stand up on your pedals and you'd sort of, arch your back, bend your back the other way, just to sort of stretch it a little bit, because it was, it would just get tight. There'd just be some discomfort there as well. So I don't know, like, what do you think are some of the mistakes or the challenges that people are going through these days, and around this as well, specifically? What do you think some of the biggest issues that people are facing?
Well, because we're in these sort of positions, more seated positions, it's obviously, it's not great for the back, in certain ways. We weren't made to sit, and there's been a lot of things come out, talking about evolution. There's a lot of research come out that, we're doing things to our bodies they weren't designed to do. And then I think, all being creatures that, okay, I've got a pain, I must go to the gym, or I must do something. It's like, well, actually having a little bit more reception that, yes, I need to stand up and I need to, stretch out a little bit more, becoming a little bit more animal-like. You've only got to look at, cats and dogs, in our homes. They just naturally stretch, and when they stretch, you can see it on their face. They're sort of, oh, that's a good thing. Whereas when we do something, it's like, oh, I've got to do this, someone's told me to do this. It's sort of almost trying to excite yourself to move. I think that's the key. It's not easy. I know you guys work very hard too, and you're really excited, so it's very hard to think, oh, okay, I've got to get up and do something now. But there is a way, that movement within itself, once you feel a movement, and the thing I talk a lot about is fascia, and fascia is the internal fabric of our body, the skin under the skin, and it doesn't lie. So when that hasn't been moved in a way, we sort of mold into those shapes, and then it makes it hard to move. But gradually, by whole body movements, expression in the face when we move, all these things can help, rather than just making it a task. Exercise is such a word that turns people off these days. Is just get out and move is more the thing that works better, I think.
I hate exercise and I hate the gym. I love swimming, of course. So I've been looking at some of your videos, and I like what I see in them. I've done a few of the stretches, because I do sit at a desk a long time. And, you go to, I must go to the gym. No, I don't want to go to the gym. I hate the gym. It's hot here. If I walk to the gym, I'm going to be sweaty. The gym's got no air conditioner. It's going to be sweaty. And I've got to come back and work, and I'm going to sit here feeling sweaty. If I go for a swim, which I love to do anyway, it's like I'm going to come back soaking wet. How can I sit down and work? There's sort of waste of time, Whereas the stretches sort of seem to be so easy. You get up and you can do them on your desk, a couple that I've seen, because I do sit at an angle, and then when I sleep in like a baby fetal position. So I'm bent all the time. So when I stand up, I get shocking backaches. It's like my back wants to lock up. So that's why I've loved watching your videos and learning different ways to do it. So, there's a lot of us out there that suffer that sort of pain. What sort of things do you give for them that makes it easy to fit in their lifestyle that can maybe eliminate some of that pain?
Well, I think you touched on an interesting point. You love swimming, but swimming is a task to get out, get wet, and get dry, and then back to work. That as upright creatures, we're the only sort of creatures that stack our spine on top of each other, and that gets condensed when we sit down. So just getting the spine on a horizontal plane, I think, you know, when you said you love swimming, it's like, well, yes, you're hanging the rib rack out. I talk about this all the time, and that's sort of like my ready position we do on a bench, that once we get that spine in a horizontal plane, it doesn't have to be very often, but at a desk is really good, you know, or, you know, and even if you can't get down to the floor or don't want to get down to the floor, you know, sling that body out in a horizontal plane just to feel the spine lengthen, because when you sit, the vertebrae get compressed, and yeah, so anything to lengthen out that spine, getting it in the horizontal plane, and that's what a lot of the exercises that I've sort of the simple things I've come up with have come about with.
So I'm just wondering. Oh, sorry, you go, Jared. I'm hot.
Yeah, because you were saying about how, you know, we're not made to sit, right? As, I guess, human beings, we're not made to sit. Now, you know, a lot of our life these days is spent sitting. We go to the office, we sit. We get in a car, we sit. We, you know, are always sitting, right? So, you know, the body's, from what you're saying, the body's made to be, I guess, erect, like straight, up and down, spine above the spine, right? So, I mean, is there some ways, like for a lot of people that their job is sitting down every day in front of a computer or something, what do you feel is the best thing for somebody to do if they are, say, you know, working from home and they are sitting down a lot? Like, do you have some suggestions for these people that maybe work in an office 8 to 10 hours, maybe 12 hours a day?
Yeah, well, the first thing is the ready position that I talk about, and I mean, I can show you very simply. If you can see, I'm at a desk now. You just put your hands on a desk and you stretch out, and
that's the one
it can be as simple as that. Just getting it. Sorry, go on.
That's the one I do. Yes.
Absolutely. So it starts from there, and not just doing an exercise like that, because you have to feeling how the spine lengthens and sort of taking that on board, that when I sit down again, it's like, oh, I feel better after doing that. Or, you know, the other thing that a lot of the research is pointing towards, and it used to be almost controversial because you never see people doing rotating exercises. So just getting up and just rotating, you know, just there's lots of ways of doing that. Tai Chi's based on that sort of stuff, or get up and dance. You know, it's also not just doing something for the sake of it, making it meaningful to yourself. So I suppose that's where I get the simple exercises where people have got a starting point, but then, you know, put some music on, or, you know, there's got to be these small breaks that are enjoyable during the day to yourself. And before you know it, you know, you're doing movements like a cat and dog will do a stretch where before they get up, because they know it feels good and they're going to move better. You know, that's innate to them. And there is a way we can get back to that innate state that we will move when we need to, and find those stepping stones to get back to that state.
Get up and boogie. So,
yeah, you know, so trying to make it a bit more exciting, you know, a bit more relevant to yourself. Yeah, I think that's a starting point, definitely.
I was thinking, Shawn, like when you were talking about, you know, that the cat stretches and the dog stretch, and that's really important when you've been sleeping. I know the stretches, especially when you're warm. Like sometimes in the morning, I get my feet moving before I get out of bed, and I rotate them and all that sort of stuff, because sometimes the blanket might sort of push them down. But one of the things I noticed too, and you may correct me on this, but if your body's lacking in a bit of magnesium and you start to do those sort of stretches, you can actually cramp up if you're not magnetized, you know, magnesiumized or whatever. How do you find that in people also with the stretching, like especially after sleeping?
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, partly just it comes down to overall health, that when we, you know, if you've got a bad back too, you've got to look at your diet. You know, it could be, are you hydrated? And yeah, but it's also about finding what's right for you. I think sometimes, you know, we're bombarded by images on the internet now about things of how you can get a six-pack and how you can do this, but it's finding the movements that are right for you. And you know, and that's why I say, you know, when we get a ready position, it could be, you know, like my mum does the ready position, but she does it in the kitchen where the height of the bench is higher. So, you know, it's getting into your own body. So if you are moving and it doesn't quite feel comfortable, it means the movement's not right for you. You know, find something that's relevant to you. It's got to be individualized too. I think, you know, we have a general way of, you know, helping ourselves, but you know, you've got to think, well, okay, if you're looking, if it still feels like an exercise, then, you know, maybe that's not something that's right for you. You've got to look at other solutions, I suppose.
Definitely. And I know I've heard you talk a lot about this too, and found this quite fascinating too. You have your own thought pattern around the core and what the core of the body really is. And I know when you were interviewed on Sky about this as well, you had some really, really unique and very different thought patterns on what the core of the body is. Because a lot of people seem to think that, you know, when they talk core, do crunches, do, you know, all these different types of, I guess, exercises to get abs, right? So they think the core is like the abs and all these types of things as well, right? You know, if I've got abs showing, I've got a strong core, right? So I'd love you to just share a little bit about your thought patterns around, you know, what it really truly means to have a strong core and what the real core of the actual body is as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that came about when I started questioning some of the things I was giving to clients and doing myself, you know, years ago, going back 20, 30 years, and thinking, okay, this is what we do in gym. It's all sort of two-dimensional, you know, one plane movements. And, you know, people were still got sore backs. I was getting sore backs. So I had to change the way I did things. And then when I, you know, that's when my studies led into fascia. And it's only just coming to light now that the body, even though, you know, it's some of these core things, it's like, all right, we need to get this super strong because the lumbers aren't allowed to move very much. We think of the lumbar part, the lumbar region is the lower vertebra, and they generally move front to back. But there is a very small amount of rotation, and this is where researchers ignored that. They've said, okay, to have a strong back, you must build a strong, tight core. And then we all got obsessed with having a six-pack because that meant, oh, okay, I'm going to get that really stiff and strong. But unfortunately, that sort of stuff, some people get away with it, but they don't get their potential to move better. Like if you're a natural sportsman, you probably would know that just doing bracing exercises is not the right thing for the body. But if you're someone that thinks, oh, I want to get fit and I want a good back, here's the images they're telling me, you know, they're on the walls in gyms, they're what a lot of personal trainers give you. But it's very limited. It's a very limited way of looking at the body, and it can be harmful. You know, if that's the only thing you do in the gym to brace and get it strong, then the joy of movement, the you know, the potential you can get from your own movement is limited, and it can be potentially harmful. So what I'm saying is, I mean, I think the core, you know, core by definition is something very deep in the body. And then we look at the core and it's quite superficial what we're looking at. And I like to sort of more describe the core as the bones. You know, you think, well, the bones are everywhere, but the core is even in my fingers. The bones are still the deepest point, and we've all got very unique bones. And this is something, you know, as much as we all look different in the face and move, the actual bones ourselves are very unique. And the bones are made for rotation and movement. They're not made to have bracing factors put over them. So I hope that sort of less complicates the issue, but it can be quite controversial because there was a divide. When I started learning about fascia, I found it very difficult to go back into personal training because firstly I was starting to fix the backs of all the clients in the gym that were going to trainers getting the wrong things done or just doing the wrong things in the gym or being ill-advised. And then secondly, there was a lot of clients that, they like that quick burn, the quick burn from the muscles that you get from machines and things like that. So we've got to be very careful of those things as well, because things, it's like anything in life. If you want something very quickly, there's often consequences, that yes, there is a process we need to go through, and getting a different feeling to moving. I think that's one way of explaining it.
Hey, Shawn, can you sort of give us a bit more of an idea about fascia and what it's about, or fascia, whatever you call it, fascia.
Fascia,
Fascia, what is it in the body and how does it work, and why does that make such a big difference to rather than someone working out in the gym? What do you think the difference is?
Well, you're working fascia all the time, and fascia it's the internal fabric of the body. It's our soft tissue. So you might have heard, say for instance, your massage therapist, they talk about soft tissue in the body, but where fascia is different, I mean, it's never changed, but we've found more things out about it. It's got a network. So as a soft tissue, we might think of, okay, the tissue in the muscle and then the muscle in the arm separate to there. But what they found with fascia and research, it's more like a webbing, and it is connected, like the old idea that an origin and insertion of the muscle starts here, finishes there, starts here, finishes there, which is the old biomechanical principle. But actually, the old saying, the knee bone's collected to the leg bone, is actually the knee bone's connected everywhere. It's connected to the opposite shoulder because you've got this continuous network. We've got fascial highways that link the body front to back. I mean, you can see there's things on my website that shows the front line of the body, which starts at the front of the toes, goes up the body and finishes here. And then the back line starts there. It's this continuous network. And I think it's about learning to move that, because then if you think, okay, if I'm doing a lot of isolation movements to get fit or fix my back, where are the whole body movements? That's the important thing that's really going to work fascia, and it's the connective tissue, the thing that connects you as a whole, as one, because we often just look at the body just in parts, and it's not the only way we need to understand the body, I suppose.
So, sorry, Jared, I've got lots of questions here. So step aside. I'm coming out with them. So you have yoga, you have Tai Chi and things like that. How does utilizing your fascia and the movements you do, I guess, coincide or correlate or similar to or not similar to those other types of styles of exercise?
So you're asking how? Well,
yeah, just in comparison.
Okay, so I suppose I create a lot of more whole body movements, and that's how we get fascia moving. So, for instance, it could be just trying to do more natural movements, even if, so I'm not saying also that all these other movements are wrong. We just need to get more rotational movements. Some of these things that you've talked about, like like Tai Chi, they create a lot of rotational movements. But yeah, we all want the feeling that we've done something too, a lot of us, so it's about getting little bits from here, little bits from there, and creating a whole. So I think that's what the body's about, I think, more than anything.
So say
Does that
someone's
make
fallen
sense?
over. Someone's fallen over and they've injured their knee. Well, for example, I've fallen over a few times and I've injured my
Yeah.
knee. Now I can walk. I can't step up on stairs with my left knee, but I can with my right. I can't kneel down either. Is there something like what you do that would actually help that as well? No real big pain, just, to be able to kneel would be great. But even if that's not possible, to be able to strengthen, I guess, to step up on steps.
Yeah, I think the first approach is that, if you even went to anyone conventional, is to look locally. Is there something going on in that knee joint? And if that helps, that's great. But then to look globally. So, it's the whole thing, locally and globally. So don't get overly concerned that the knee is not functioning as well. Do everything you can to, there's lots of exercises you can do. For instance, it could be an assisted squat, where you hold the side of the table and just test the ranges. So you would gradually improve that. Then if the pain didn't improve, you might want to look at a little bit more intervention. But this is where I think people go wrong. They get so focused on that problem, they forget to think, well, actually, if my left knee is sore, and this is what I often find when people come to me, is like their whole body, their whole weight is being carried over the left side of the body. So is there something that you can do to get the weight off there? So it could be, for instance, to work on these side muscles to bring yourself over. Is it the glute activation? Is it other muscles? Is it your foot? So it's local, global, and not getting too caught on locally. It's my knee. Okay, it's your knee, but looking at other things you can do in the body and not to stop moving. So finding movements you still can do, like you said, you love your swimming, so doing more things like that. That you don't just stop and think that something needs to heal. You still do everything you can to keep moving.
Okay.
So I hope that helps.
Cool. Sure. I've had it for about 20 years anyway, so it's not like a newbie.
Oh,
Jared.
I'd love to treat you one day.
Oh, well, come over to Bali, mate.
Oh, that sounds great to me. On the way to see you, Jared, in Australia.
That's damn straight.
But listen, I'm very literal. You'd love to treat me. Was that to dinner? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Just teasing. Jared, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions for the young man?
You've been doing incredibly well today. So the show's completely yours today. So which is great. I think like in terms of, I think the main sort of questions I had was sort of, I guess, for everyday people, right? That are they're at their desks and all these types of things, just working out what is that happy medium to get rid of a lot of that discomfort and things like that as well that people can have. When it comes to back, neck, it could be knees, all that type of stuff as well. So that was kind of sort of the main questions that I had, because I wanted to kind of relate it to people here that were live and sort of had questions or might have been going through some of this as well, because it does get quite common, a lot of that sort of back discomfort and things like that too. Taking the gym, for example, right? I know sometimes what can happen is, if your form is off slightly, it can cause little areas in your back just to tweak, or different areas of your body to tweak slightly. Is form, like in your thought pattern, right? Is the form and stuff like that you sort of pick up things or do things at the gym, is that part of the reason why a lot of people get a lot of injuries and things like that as well? Or is it just more so because they're picking up too heavy type stuff there as well? Or would someone, if say for example, wanted to still get fit and all that type of stuff, could they just use a lot of movement type exercises to still get fit from that perspective and not have to go to the gym, do you think?
I mean, you've touched on two interesting aspects there, but the interesting thing you said is form, and that word form, you know, that's within my business name, reformance, performance, form within the body. It's like sport, for instance, if the Geelong Cats are in really good form at the moment, but it's not always predictable to know that, you know, when we, if the Eagles hit form in a couple of weeks when we play them, you know, will Geelong still be in good form? So you know, the same principle applies when we go to the gym. That yeah, you're right. You know, someone, you know, I get a lot of people that say, oh, you know, I do my routine and I went to the gym and I lifted up that weight and my back went, you know, they're like, I don't know why that happened. And this is where your form can gradually change. And then I'll do a body reading on that person and I can see exactly that back was going that way for a long time. It's not until the point that we feel pain or pick something up a bit awkwardly. So the first thing about making sure you've got good form in the gym is a good quality warm-up that's specific to you, using things like the foam rollers to just roll out the tight bits of muscles that are not necessarily around the back. This is again where you sort of look locally and globally. So you think, oh, I got how to, oh, and then the interesting thing is when you get on a foam roller, or even if you do more like a dynamic stretching, you know, before you start to lift weights or before you go for a run or anything like that, that this is where you get to drop into your body and say, oh, I didn't realize that this side was sore than that side. Okay, let's just move that and circle in that area and go, oh, that's better. So it can be just simple things like that to make sure you're in better form. It's like an Aussie rules football team. You know, there'll be a reason that they've lost form, and the same thing can be to ourselves. So I think this is also a nice analogy that, you know, we often think, oh, our bodies are a bit boring or that, but once we start to discover them, to me it's a little bit like I've even had an idea. I'm working with some young upcoming tennis players, and there's such a huge checklist, you know, to play a treacherous game like tennis where they're moving in awkward positions, and you know they have to do so many things to get their body in balance. And then they come and see me and say, well, you've got to spend an extra hour doing this. And they're like, oh, you know, but then maybe think, oh, okay, I've got, you know, like a Premier League team in my body, you know, I've got to think of the pectoral muscles as the front line and the back line, you know. So we think of it as a strategy that gets our mind enthralled with our body and the potential for our body to do amazing things. And even if you're not a sportsman or aspire to you know, do anything that's, you know, that level, but it could be just, well, hey, I want to be able to walk down the beach at the end of the day and be able to enjoy the sunset and walk to that point where I can see the sunset better without thinking, oh, my back's going to hurt. So, okay, the strategy starts now. What can I do with my tissue in my body to make sure I'm ready for that every day? So yeah, partly making it more exciting, and you know, and following a routine. You know, I think this is where I get a lot of and team sport as well. You know, we often watch team sports, we get inspiration, but why don't we apply it to ourselves? Or even like, for instance, I've started kicking a soccer ball around. You know, I've never brought up with you know, soccer in Australia, or as they call it, football here, but I do it. I'm not very good at it, but it makes my body reorganize itself by doing things like that. So I hope that helps answer your question a bit there.
It does.
I don't think I can
That's
kick a
good.
football though. Who's breaking up?
Yeah, well, that's the other point, is that if you start doing something you're not good at, your body goes, wow, I can't do that. So it works out a way of doing it. So this is the other area where people get into problems, is, you know, we're filled with an industry of people that go to the gym where they should really be in a yoga studio, and then the people that go to a yoga studio really should be in the gym, because we all want to do something we're good at. But if we dare to do something we're not very good at, and obviously not harmful to the body, but challenge. So for instance, sometimes on my posts I'll get up and dance because I'm a terrible dancer. You know, I'm a typical sportsman. I've got two left feet, but I know when I dance, I go, wow, okay, that's something. Oh, I didn't realize I could rotate there. Oh, I'm going to go into that movement. You know, I mean, it's, you know, it's not a pretty picture seeing me on the dance floor, because I'll start dancing and then I'll actually start going, okay, now I want my QL to move there. So I start, you know, I'm not really doing it as well to the music, but I'm exploring. And I think everyone can explore, you know, by trying things they're not good at or they're a little bit afraid to do.
I have to. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get an image in my head of you dancing with two left legs.
Two left legs. Or haven't you heard of that?
Yes, I have, but I've got the picture now. I've got your left leg duplicated twice, and you trying to dance with the two of them.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, you know. I mean, when I was working with, you know, a lot of tennis players, there was some women tennis players on the WTA, and as an outside person coming in, you know, they want you to pick the areas they need to improve on, and most of these girls, they're like warriors, you know. They just, you know, hit the ball a million miles an hour. They move fast. But I'll come in and say, look, you need to be a bit more of a dancer. Let's work on, you know, those side steps, something called the mogul. So they've got to get lighter on the step. But they look at me like, I'm not a dancer, you know. So it's warrior dancer is another thing, you know. The up and the down, you know, is a balancing factor. So I mean, do you want me to get up and show you how I dance? You know, I don't know. That would be very pretty.
Come on. You said it, not me.
Well, I mean, the point about, you know, movement in general, and this is the area we all think, oh, we need to stabilize here, you know, this area. But when we start rotating, for instance, and getting this rib cage to move around the pelvis, things start to wake up. And I got some inspiration from John Travolta. He was on a talk show about a month ago, and he's about 69, you know, and he's not, you know, I'll say since his Grease and Staying Alive days, he was, you know, he was very aesthetically fit, but boy, can we learn from a guy that can move. And he went through actually 5 moves, and then, you know, there was the twist, and then there was, you know, he's doing the swimming motion. I forget all the names, but it's those sort of things that we're sort of scared to do, or, you know, we cringe at the thought of us doing, that, you know, we should all have a go at. You know, pick up a tennis racket. You know, this is also another thing with ball skills. If you've never been good at ball games, it means that you're actually the person that should be throwing a ball around or catching a ball, because all those movements just excite the tissue like, you know, nothing else that you could do in the gym.
I thought you were going to dance in.
You seem to have lost concentration there. I don't play.
I'm trying to work out how to put it on you solo so we can see you dance, but I just didn't quite get there.
Well, I'm going to put out, you know, I've sort of put out my 5 moves 5 times a day. It's like, you know, when people say you should eat 5 fruit and veggies a day. Well, do 5 whole body movements. And, you know, I've got my idea, this modified yoga form, because, you know, most of us aren't made to, you know, or we find it difficult to get into yoga. So these modified yoga positions are good. But then people can be inventive that, yeah, every hour, get up, do the twist, get up, do something that's relevant to you, and something that almost scares you. I think would be an important thing too. So your body's got to go, wow, okay, it's got to figure it out. So that's the key too.
So you're talking about your 5 moves that you do every day. Where do we see that?
That's on my website, and I do often put the moves on Facebook and Instagram too. Yeah, you've got the wave, you know, which is sort of like a modified downward dog, where you're down, you're in that ready position, and you're sending a ripple through the body. There's so imagine if I'm at a desk now, my hands are there. There's hip thrusts. There's taking the arms off in a lunge. There's karate kicks where you know, and this is a good one where you're practicing balance, for instance. So you're getting onto one leg, but a lot of people have problems just doing that. So if you put your hand on a desk and encourage the body to work itself out, you know, gradually, you know, I think this is the thing that we rush too soon into complex movements, or we just get a little bit what's the word, just demotivated, think, oh, I can't do that, for instance, or, you know, I can't do that ballet steps. But, you know, there's always a modified way of doing that. You know, that if you love ballet, you know, I find it hard to understand that people can watch all these dancing and sport and not do a little bit of it yourself, you know, because that's how I have always enjoyed sport as a kid. It'd be watching Gary Ablett take a huge mark, so I go in the backyard and practice taking that mark and doing that. So we need this imagination even as we get older, you know. Don't lose the imagination or the thought that, you know, when I kick a soccer ball around, I'm hopeless at it, but I'm thinking I'm Cristiano Ronaldo. I want to get that way he kicks the ball so it just projects down. Now, it doesn't look very good when I do that, but that's the thought in my head. And as I'm doing that, I'm exciting all the tissue. This, you know, we've got nerves that excite the body, but fascia has its own network that is always moving, and it's working with our thought patterns as well. So that's where just movement for sake of moving, that yes, you've got to move and you've got to move this joint. Well, who wants to do that? Well, hey, why don't you move like Nick Nat Nui, for instance, you know, think, wow, you know, when you watch that guy, how tall is he? 201 centimeters?
Yeah, super tall, around 201 or something, yeah.
You know, and that's where I get inspiration, where you see these huge mobile guys now. So when you think he weighs 110 kilos, and look at the way he moves around, and then people go, oh, I'm a bit overweight, I can't move. Well, go and have a look at Nick Nat Nui. And he's not lazy, but I think people have said he's lazy. Is he lazy? Would you say Nick Nat's lazy? Yeah, no, but that's also the joy of movement too, that we are inherently lazy creatures. So what that means, that if we move with a bit more grace and ease, yeah, it does look a little bit lazy, but it actually helps the joints open up better.
So you're saying that people should move with the grace. So I was thinking then, you know, like usually with most things, they always say do a bit of warm up before you do exercise. If you're just doing movements, it shouldn't have to be like, you know, you don't need a warm up if you take it sort of fairly easy then, do you?
No, I mean, that's it. If you're doing something that's a little bit more organic, you know, like certain dancing that, you know, if you're more a dancing sort of person, you put on music and you start moving to it. But, you know, it's also important to start slow, you know, so you might want to start with some slow music before you get into your techno, for instance. So there is, you know,
in like your
you
heavy
want to
metal or something
start.
like that.
Yeah, but the point of that is you're not really thinking about how you're moving. Then you are thinking. You know, for instance, you get on a tennis court. So, you know, this is why people love sport, because they're not doing it because they have to move. They're doing it because they want to get the ball back over the net and win the point. And that's what I've been dealing with for a long time, dealing with tennis players. They're sort of the other side, that they get to a point where their bodies have given up and they're saying, well, all I want to do is get on a tennis court. So, you know, there is a little bit of, you know, sacrifice for the type of movements you want to do. But there are always ways of making it interesting, exciting, therapeutic. You know, all these things are important, rather than just move to lose weight or just move because the doctor says I've got a bad back.
I could think of
Love that.
moves in there as well too, but I won't go there. Shawn, so people to contact you, they can go to your website, the Reformance website.co.uk. How can they contact you via email? Your Gmail, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I've got Shawn at reformance.co.uk now, so that's a pretty one, SEAN. You can contact me through Facebook or Instagram also. You know, I always like to hear from people when I put something out there and like, wow, you know, I even got someone this morning. She's you know, this is the great thing about social media. It's not the people that you touch, you know, within the people. Like in London, it was someone in Greece got in contact and says, I've been doing the wave and my back feels so much better. You know, I've had all this chiropractic work, which is, you know, there's lots of great conventional methods out there, but sometimes it's just doing some of these whole body movements, put a little bit of meaning into it. And if you don't like the whole body movements I give, you just get the idea that, okay, I can put 5 whole body movements in my day. That's not hard to do. And then you're halfway there.
Well, it's been absolutely enlightening today, and I was really looking forward to this. So I thank you so much. Our time is up, though. They're about to turn the internet off and the lights off on us. So just kidding. But thank you so much, and we'll wrap this up. And when we close up, you hang around.
Great, and I hope you guys can get up too. Yeah, get back on that bike, Jared.
Yeah.
Right, you know it. Thanks so much for jumping on today, Shawn. Really, really appreciate you jumping on and sharing your knowledge with everybody as well, because I know that if anybody's kind of been feeling that little bit of a niggle, right, it could have come at the right time for them to see you here as well. So guys, reach out to Shawn on Instagram if you want that and you need that. We can actually give you that link as well. We'll put it into the comments. Reach out to him on Facebook. Definitely shoot him an email. He's got a free download here that he's giving to our audience as well, so you guys can feel free to download that guide as well. It's his pain-free blueprint, showing you guys exactly how to overcome and avoid a lot of the biggest mistakes people make that prevents them from living pain-free lives. So make sure you tune into that. Make sure you grab access to that guide. Reach out to Shawn if you need any further additional help. Thank you so much for everyone, for you as well, Serena, taking charge of today as well, and really asking some amazing questions as well. I'm sure it's been a lot of value to everyone. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Share this out, share it with more people so they can get access to this one live as well. And we look forward to seeing you all on the next episode on Monday. Speak to you all soon.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Bye.
See you, everyone.